How's it going, guys? Today we are here with the Z1 Off-Road Supercharger Kit for the D41 Frontier. We're gonna walk you through a little bit of an install today. This is a bit of like a preview, if you will. We're almost there, we're almost ready. This is gonna be a quick run through of how to install everything. I say quick run through, this is gonna be very comprehensive. We're gonna cover how to get this entirely installed on your truck today. We're gonna show you how to do it. It's really simple, it's really straightforward. It shouldn't take you that long. And you can do this at home by yourself for sure. But just a couple of the components we got here. We got our air-to-water intercooler. This is the heat exchanger for the front. We've got a carbon fiber intake tube, and as well as the rest of the assembly. We have our coolant reservoir, dual idler, adjustable bracket. So simply reroutes the belt. And then last but not least, the pièce de résistance, the Harrop 1.9 liter blower. So let's go ahead and get started. This is gonna be a great time. We're gonna get a lot of good stuff here. So we'll show you guys how to do it. Let's get into it. Okay, first step, pretty simple. All we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the entire factory intake manifold. So all the way down from the intake itself, all the way to the throttle body, the upper intake manifold, that's all coming off. We are going to retain the factory evap system and the factory like PCV system, that's all gonna be retained. We've got a Z1 intake that we're gonna install. You are required to have the Z1 intake so that we can get the proper MAV calculations. But yeah, let's get right into it. First thing we're gonna do is we'll just take off the entire intake and the front of the grill, so the upper section of the grill. Gotta give it some clippy grabby boy. The trick with this, there's some screws along the top in here. You can ignore them and just take the whole front of the grill off. He's got the Raptor lights, doesn't he? So that makes things a little more challenging. So yeah, all you're gonna do is pull, yep. So you hear 2 clicks, and then reach your hand down in there, and you're gonna be feeling for some large tabs, these big plastic tabs. I'll show you in a second. And just go from one side to the other. I've done this a few times, a lot of times. Just like that, okay? And then if you have a camera, you're gonna be watching that front camera. Aaron has the Raptor lights. So we're gonna go ahead and unplug those guys. There we go, cool, right? Okay, take that, set it to the side, and then the whole grill should come off. So if you have a camera, it'll be attached here. There's just a clip you can just pull off and then take that off. But we're just gonna set this to the side and keep it somewhere safe. Something to keep in mind on the 24, I think, and later models, you're gonna have an active air shutter systems here, and you're gonna have to take that out all at the same time, and it's a little tricky to deal with, but it's basically you just undo 2 screws at the top here and here, and then unplug it in a couple spots and pull it out. But you're gonna have to do that too. We will be able to retain that, and it should all still function as intended by the manufacturer. We're gonna end up putting a heat exchanger right behind here, and yeah, it's gonna fit neatly back there. We're gonna replace this guy and stuff, but we'll get there later. So yeah, let's get this intake removed. Go ahead and get those guys started. I'll start on the top. Yeah, also you should be able to remove the entire intake after just, yeah, after undoing these 2, and there's a bolt back there. And then the whole thing should just come out.
Let me follow that.
Sure. I'm just gonna keep track of all this hardware in this bag. To not lose it, that would be bad. Got that guy unplugged. We just need to undo the MAV connector. Or not the MAV connector, the PCV hose. Actually, we're gonna leave that one. We're gonna undo this one, because we're gonna remove that as well. Okay, we just got that guy in the back left. Now we should just be able to take the entire thing out. On all in one go. All right. I'm gonna unclip this just for simplicity's sake. Pretty easy to take out. It's not too hard. Simple trucks. Okay, take out the filter. Last thing, just a little clip holding the diff breather to there. Sorry. All right, there we go. That's out. Intake is out. Easy peasy. Next step, we're gonna undo this clamp here. We're gonna keep this hose. We're gonna reuse all the factory evap system. And then we're gonna undo that bolt right under here. We're going to remove this bracket. We're going to unclip this canister from this bracket. We're gonna undo the PCV connection back here.
The bracket down here.
And the bracket down here. And then there are 8 bolts on top. And we'll just undo all 8 of those. And the whole intake should come free at that point. That's funky. There it goes. If you need to, you can use a screwdriver to like pry up at the bottom. Just give it some movement. There you go. I'm gonna put this bolt back in here so we don't lose it. PCV is disconnected. Evap is being disconnected. Ooh, engine's still a little warm. Kind of cooking me a little bit, if I'm honest. There we go. So that's all gonna come out. And we're gonna reuse it, but it's gonna get routed behind the intake system. So put it to the side right now, but we are gonna reuse it. Let's see, yeah, let's get this. Oh, actually, before I get that manifold off. So this bracket right here on the driver's side valve cover, we're gonna remove this bracket. We're gonna leave this bolt out because we're gonna reuse that bolt. But we're gonna disconnect it here, unclip the fuel line from its support bracket. We're going to, it's two 8mm bolts, that is. And just break those loose. So this bracket, we're just gonna take out. We do not need this. We're gonna just discard it. Yeah, throw that thing in the trash, because it's garbage. I'm gonna put one of these back into here just to protect that hole from corroding or getting dirt in it, as it should. All right, Joey's getting the throttle body removed from the manifold. While he's doing that, I'm gonna take this bracket off and I'm gonna start on the manifold itself. This bracket off, maybe? There we go. All right, cool. This bracket, check it, you don't need it. Garbage. Next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna actually pull this harness clip, I guess, out of that threaded hole in the block, or in the valve cover, I guess. We're not gonna need that. So that's out of the way, and now, before I get started on removing the manifold itself, I'm gonna undo this clip and just like give this harness some room to move. We're gonna end up pushing this up here to be out of the way of the belt. So we're gonna wanna loosen things up. We might end up swapping these grounds to be underneath this harness instead of on top, but we'll get there when we get there. Yeah, let's get started on the manifold. All right. Okay, some of these are studs with a nut on it, so just keep that in mind. We're gonna have to take the stud out. This should be like I say this should be the easiest part. This is all fairly easy to do. You should be able to do this yourself. You good? You smack your head?
No, no.
I'm certainly gonna smack my head on this light, but whatever. Okay, so now we should be able to just remove the upper intake manifold. Ta-da! See how easy that was? That was a piece of cake. Okay, so I'm just gonna get at these, brain fart. I'm gonna get at these harness. Okay, so I've disconnected. Goodness gracious, this engine is toasty. Oh, God. Okay, so disconnect, there's 6 clips that the engine harness is connected into. Or we're gonna disconnect those and move them. The lower manifold plate's gonna sit like right here. And so it's gonna be important that we keep these out of the way and so that we can fit everything into place. We do not need to remove the lower intake manifold. This retains the factory tumbler valves and all that stuff, so we won't have any check engine lights from that. Next thing we're gonna do, I guess one of the studs came out. Sometimes that happens. We're gonna remove this stud and we're gonna get things going. Next step, we're gonna remove the factory oil fill neck and we're gonna flip it 180 degrees. Thankfully, it just rotates like that. We are going to have to break off a tab on it to allow it to clock properly, but otherwise that's it. So. Okay, there's an O-ring that sits in there. Just make sure you don't lose that. Sometimes it comes out. Just make sure you don't lose it. So yeah, I'm holding it. You can see this little tab right here. You'll notice that the other side does not have it. So in order for us to flip it around, we're just gonna grab some pliers and just snap it off. And just like that. It's so easy. That's all you gotta do. Once that's off, we can flip it 180 degrees. This is gonna keep the oil fill out of the supercharger itself, because everything's gonna be sitting here. And so where it was sitting before did not allow it to sit in the way it was before. So this shouldn't change anything. It should be perfectly normal functioning. All right, we have our magical box of goodies. This kit's been installed on a couple different trucks, so bear with me for a minute. Got a couple things laying around. Coolant pump, we're gonna need that. Grab these hardware packs. All right, so we got a couple different hardware packs. This is the Intercooler hardware pack. We have a couple of other ones. And then we've got our intake and hardware kit. We've got our dual idler pulley bracket hardware kit, coolant reservoir hardware kit. So we've got these split out into different like stages basically, so that when you're doing the install, you only have to have really one open at a time. Makes hardware a little bit easier to manage because there, as you can see, is quite a bit of it. So, and even more. So there's a lot of hardware to go through, but don't worry. We've divided up for you so you can easily figure out where everything needs to go. So there is a method to the madness. All right, so grab a big wrench with a 17 on it. This is your belt tensioner right here. We're gonna take a M6 bolt. It needs to be slightly long so you can use it properly. So we're just gonna go on there and we're gonna act like we're loosening it. And let's gonna take the tension off the belt. I'm gonna stick the bolt through there. And then we should be able to take this off and have the tensioner locked out. This is gonna be important. This is how we're gonna set up the belt and tension on everything properly. We'll just take this belt all the way off. Ta-da. You know what happens if you don't buy the Z1 Supercharger Kit? Cool. So let's take our 17, swap it for a 14. We got this guy, screwdriver. All right, so this top idler right here. Man, that light is so convenient.
Right?
It's so convenient. So we're just gonna take the screwdriver and there's just a cap on there. It's gone. Take that cap off and then it's a 14. We're gonna remove this idler. We will not be replacing it. So basically, we're gonna replace that segment of the pulley system. So the belt's gonna come up off of the power steering pump and it's gonna come to this ribbed idler normally, and then it's gonna go back down to your AC compressor. we're gonna take this off and we're gonna divert everything up from there and back down, and it will resume as normal. So belt routing is the same aside from that, just makes a additional pit stop. That's gonna be really easy to install, and you already know how to do it. So, but we'll go ahead and take this guy off. Okay, so take that guy off. We do not need this anymore. This is trash. But we can just throw this away. We won't need it. You take that 12 off right there. Okay, take that guy off. Just boop. Okay, so this is where it's gonna get a little bit messy, but not too bad. I actually might wait to do the coolant side of this until the engine cools off, because it's
for sure
quite hot. I do not enjoy hot coolant on my skin.
That might be a tomorrow thing.
That might be a tomorrow thing. Okay, regardless, we should be able to get the dual idler bracket installed. All right, we're gonna take our dual idler pulley bracket hardware kit, and we're just gonna cut it open. So I'll run you through the hardware. We have the 4 bolts that are meant to hold the pulley to the blower. We have the upper bolt for the idler, the set screw, and the jam nut for the sliding tensioner, or for the sliding idler. We have the 2 bolts for the pulleys, and we have the 2 long bolts that go into the timing cover. So not a whole lot, pretty easy. So we'll go ahead and dump them all out. So now that we know what they're for. Okay, so these guys will go together, and this guy goes together, and that guy, and these guys. Just like that. All right, cool. So let's get those bolts out of the front of the timing cover, and then we can attach the dual idler bracket, this guy, to it. So how this basically works is one pulley is gonna go here. This is gonna sit around where that old pulley was, but we're gonna put one pulley here, and then a second one is gonna go in this sliding groove. So on the back side, we have this stainless steel nut that fits into this slot, and it's made specifically for this. So we're gonna attach one pulley to this, and then we'll set its height accordingly. We'll tighten it, put the set screw in, just like this. Thread that set screw in, and then we'll use our jam nut on the top to make sure everything's all nice and snug. So by doing this, we can use 2 different belt lengths for all the pulleys you'll ever need. And then you can adjust your tension to be exactly how you need it. And you're not gonna have to deal with tiny little variances on your tension. You don't have to deal with anything like that. So it's the ideal setup. So we'll go ahead and take these pulleys, get these started. So pardon the dirt. We like to run our trucks pretty hard. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and install these pulleys. We're gonna have some spacers that are gonna go on the back of these, and then make sure the snap rings are on the back side. They may look a little bit different than this, but they're gonna be 60 millimeter smooth pulleys. We're gonna go ahead and just get these started. These are back, this is on the back side. All right, so we're gonna take the, oh my. We're gonna take the tensioner off. There she goes. We're gonna take the tensioner off, excuse me, so that we can get to these 2 bolts right here. There's these 2 bolts right here and here. Those are gonna get removed, and we're gonna replace those, and the bracket's gonna go right here. So it'll just sit right in front. But in order to remove this, you can't get a wrench or a socket on it, so we're gonna have to remove the tensioner real quick. Don't worry, it's easy to take off and put back on. Remove that sucker. Nice. There's a little pin, a little stud that goes into the timing cover. So just keep that in mind. We're gonna have to line that up when we put it back. And now we should be able to get to these 2 bolts. These are also 14s. They may be quite snug. Just like that. Jeez. All right, I'm gonna use an actual wrench, not this thing. Okay, cool. Now I can just zip those off. Cool. These are very long bolts. Okay. All the way out. Nice, thank you. Yep, and these just go into the back. Okay, so we've got our dual idler bracket. So you'll see this one slides up and down to adjust for belt length. And then this one is fixed. So we're gonna go ahead and install it. Those two bolts that we just took out, we're gonna put these long socket head bolts in there, and we're gonna torque those up. And so those will go in there just like that. And then this little M8 bolt goes in the top just like that. It'd be easier if I had taken these coolant hoses off, but we'll get there. Put the threads on those. And this last one. Sorry, let's see if we can make this a little easier to see.
We can just remove the bracket.
Get this top one started.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. If I can get this thread started. There we go. Cool. All right, now we'll snug those up. That should be a 6 for the top and 8 hex, or 6 for the top, 8 for the bottom, both like hex keys. Okay. Okay, just like that. And then we're just gonna snug these up and then put the tensioner back on after that. So this guy. Cool. Okay, and then as you can see, now we can adjust this. We should be able to get to it fairly easily. This set screw, don't worry, we're not setting the tension with the set screw. The tensioner, the factory tensioner, will be doing all the tensioning on the belt. So we don't have to deal with any preload or anything like that. Nothing like that. So we'll just get that, jam that down, boom. And as you can see, we got pretty large range of adjustability. It's about 30 millimeters of belt length that we can compensate for. So we'll snug up this right side, and then we'll get the left side when we're ready to install the belt and get everything wrapped up. All right, that's your dual idler adjuster, or sorry, that's your dual idler bracket. Pretty easy to install. Let's keep going. Our little hardware shelf here. It's fun.
So easy.
Okay, so we went ahead and installed the pulley for us. You're just gonna go ahead and slide the pulley over the snout and then put these 4 bolts into place and just snug them up. Once the belt's on, we can really tighten them down and make sure that they are appropriately torqued, but we're gonna just go with this for now. And then, yeah, that's it. So let's get on to getting the lower intake manifold ready and getting the wiring harness all out of the way so we can put the intercooler stack together. Okay, so we have our intercooler hardware kit. We've got a variety of socket head cap bolts. So we have a bunch of washers in here, and then we have a single short M6 bolt, 2 flanged button head bolts, some M6 socket head cap bolts, some short M8 socket head cap bolts, and some long M8 socket head cap bolts. So a lot of socket head cap bolts. So we're gonna keep track of them. We're gonna start with just these top 2 sections, and then we should be able to put the blower onto the supercharger plate, and then we'll get the harness protector installed, get that all out of the way, and let's do that. All right, so we're gonna take these 2 grounds out. Be just very gentle with these wires, but we're gonna put them right back where they were. We're just gonna route them underneath the wiring harness. I don't know why I put that one in there. It's right there. Okay. So, a couple things we got to do. We got to take these grounds and we're going to route them underneath, just like that. Okay. This is so we can lift the harness up and out of the way. When you're moving this, keep an eye on this connector right here. Just make sure that doesn't get stretched too far. And then there should be another one down a little further. If you need to unclip that, we can. But we're gonna unclip this guy right here. Probably. There we go. We're gonna unclip this. There we go. And then that's gonna give us a little room. This is gonna come up and out of the way. We're gonna basically just do that, okay? So it's gonna end up sitting right here. This is gonna keep the wiring harness from getting attacked by the belt.
Oh. Look when you showed me. Just trying to get into the shot.
Dave's just being a degenerate.
Yeah, that's what I do best.
Typical.
Typical PE Dave.
I was gonna say blasted 350 owners. You're a real piece of work, Dave, you know that?
Yeah, you know, I just like to make the world a more difficult place.
More difficult.
More difficult. I like that. I like that. That's funny. No, you don't.
Now we can torque these back up. There we go. Okay, I'm just gonna very gently just cut this little piece of tape. Give me some room to work with. It makes me crazy. There we go. Okay, so now should be able to take our little bracket with our two flanged button head bolts. And we should be able to just like get these started. You'll have to kind of feel them into place. But this is a very important step. This is very critical that these get installed. You will destroy your wiring harness if you do not install this. So this is very important. Whoa, there, Bessie. This can be a little tricky to get in place, but you can do it. Just like that. Cool. Coming over here with that smug look on your face.
Making sure you keep the area clean.
I'm doing my worst. Cool, that is installed. That's all we gotta do. So now you can rest easy knowing that your harness isn't gonna get chewed up by your belt. All right, so we've got our harness protector installed. We've got our dual idler bracket installed. We're gonna go ahead and put the intercooler on before we take a break. This should be pretty easy. All we're gonna do is make sure that this is all out of the way. And then this should just slide into place. We're just gonna set it down like this. And that's it. Like that's where it needs to be. So an interesting feature to all of these is they will not be able to back out and come into the engine. We've designed everything so that all the captive bolts, or all the bolts that could get into the engine, have something physically blocking them so that they can't fully escape their seating, their little housing, their home, and get into the engine. So you don't have to worry about bolts coming loose. Even if they do come loose, they won't get into your engine at all. You won't have any issues with that. We thought of that ahead of time. That was one of the things that we wanted to make sure that these bolts in particular, these 8 bolts, there's no way that they would be able to make their way into your engine. So have some peace of mind. We designed that to accommodate these. Okay, so these, you're gonna wanna torque these to 75 inch-pounds. I don't have that, it's about 6 foot-pounds. I'm just gonna torque them to 10. They should be okay. But I'm gonna start in the middle and work our way out. All right, so now we're gonna take our gasket and we're gonna just set it into place. It's got these little nubs on it to hold it in place. Just gonna press straight down. Cool. So next step, we're gonna just take the intercooler and we're just gonna set it straight down on top. It's gonna be important that we go directly straight down so as to not like disturb or roll this gasket at all. We want to make sure that we are keeping that gasket intact. These are one-time use gaskets. Once they are heat cycled a bunch of times, you're gonna wanna replace them, but not to worry, we have those, of course. So yeah, let's get started. So a couple things we're gonna have to do to get this prepped. So we're gonna take this MAV sensor, we're gonna go ahead and just press it in, and then we're gonna use the single short M6 bolt that comes in the kit, and we're just gonna thread it in. There's not a ton of thread engagement, it's just kind of to keep it in place. And then we'll just take our 5 and just boop, snug it like that. Another thing I already did, we're gonna go ahead and on the sides here, we're gonna install our orb to, on the sides here, we're gonna install our ORB, SAE ORB. They're a straight O-ring fitting. We're gonna install those, and then it goes to our 3/4 inch hose barb adapters. Just go ahead and put one on each side, snug them up, and then we're ready to go. Once those are fully seated, they are sealed. So that's how you can tell if they are properly sealed or not. And then we're gonna go ahead and install this on the top. So once we install this, there's gonna be 2 short M8 bolts on the back, and then there's gonna be 8 long, oh, there's a little coolant there. I peed a little, got nervous. So we're gonna install those 8 long M8 bolts and the 2 short M8 bolts on there. So let's do it. All right, cool. And then we just go straight down, right on top, just like that. Easy enough. All right, so we've got all my hardware here. We're gonna go ahead and put those back ones in first just because they're the 2 different ones. We're just gonna go in like a star pattern. It's just gonna be the same as you would any other type of gasket. All right, so we're just gonna get these seated, and then we're gonna go ahead and torque all of these to 26 foot-pounds. Just make sure that everything's lined up nice. Okay, so we're gonna show you how to install the upper gasket that goes on your intercooler, the blower plate gasket. Had a couple people get some, want some clarification on how this works. So we're just gonna start on the top. You're gonna put the corners in, okay? Make sure it's all flat. Then you're gonna put the bottom corners in, okay? And then you'll see it, sometimes it's a little bit, looks like it's a little bit long. It's just gonna require a little bit of finessing to get in here, but it will fit. And we're gonna just start pressing down. You're not gonna do any stretching like this, because see how that works? You just stretch it like that, and you're gonna just, you know, end up pulling out the corners. So we're gonna start in the middle. Just gonna press down, boom, boom, just like that. Same thing on the other side. This side ends up looking like it fits a little better. And just press down like that. Okay. And we're good. So you can do this off the truck on the table, or you can do it on the truck. It's gonna look the exact same. So hope that helps. Like this. And as we install this, so you're gonna wanna be very careful, and you want to come straight down on top of it if you can. Just like that. Easy peasy. So it's gonna be very close. Oh, slid it a little bit. I'm gonna make sure it's okay. Yep, yes, it's okay. You're gonna notice back here that this is very close. That's why we use that low profile hardware. But you're gonna be just fine right there. It's not gonna give you any issues. So cool. Let's get 8 of those socket head bolts and we'll put them in. More bolts. Lots of bolts. Oh. This one's gonna be fun. Okay, now we're gonna get these guys. What I mean, it's kind of like, it's a funky spot to get at. But, in the name of power, we will do a lot of things. All right, sweet, we're getting there. Now let's swap those coolant lines since we left it last night to cool off. We can go ahead and switch those coolant lines. It's gonna be easy to do right now. Okay, so we got the evap system routed behind it. I forgot to put it back there before. But you can route it afterwards. You just need to rotate. You can just rotate that fitting pretty easily, but you can push it back there into place and it will just sit behind the blower and it will live its life there and it'll be just fine. And then you can just push the hose through, and then on the other side, you can reconnect the solenoid, and then we'll have a bracket here in a moment that will just bolt there and hold it in place. Okay, so we got these 2 little M8 bolts. They're gonna go thread into these 2 bolt holes on the side of the intercooler. And we're gonna thread these in most of the way. We're gonna leave like 3 or 4 millimeters on the back side of them so that we can slide our bracket into place. And that bracket is gonna hold our, then we'll take our bracket and we just slide it behind those and we'll snug it up like that. So, all we gotta do. There we go. Cool. And then we'll put a nut and a bolt through there, and that will hold our evap solenoid in place, just like that. All right, just get that going. And tighten that up. Cool. And now we can go ahead and get our carbon installed with our bracket, and then we can attach our throttle body to the carbon, and we'll be done with the, this is the upright. We'll be done with the whole blower stack. That will be the whole thing ready to go. So cool. Okie day. So we've slid these onto the carbon. So we got our, there's this like groove in the middle of this to help it seat into place in the correct spot. And now we're gonna slide these van clamps into place. One there and one there. And now we can get our bracket and we can set that up on the factory intake bracket. Cool. So now we're gonna take this guy. This bracket looks like this. We're gonna go ahead and put it into place here. Okay, got that bracket installed. And tight, cool. Now let's get the carbon in there. Okay, now we're gonna take the carbon. I like to just like work it into place like that. And then it's gonna sit in front of that bracket we just installed. and we're gonna bolt through the bracket and put a nut on the back of that. But it looks like it's lined up right there. Now we can go ahead and put our tubes back on. There's our evap. Let's see, we're using the factory evap hose. Or sorry, we're using the factory PCV hose, and now the factory evap hose. It's just gonna slide into place there. Now we can get this installed, and then we'll tighten these up once everything is in line. Okay, so these are gonna be fun. We're gonna take these long bolts that are provided. We're gonna thread these all the way through. It's gonna take a minute. Okay. Get the bottom end started. And I'm getting my power tool. Gonna reuse the factory ones on the right side. If yours are all gummed up or messed up or look like that, actually that one's okay. Sometimes these are a pain and they just get seized and you have to like kind of use some vice grips to get them out. But if yours look like that, we can get you some factory ones. And put our PCV hose back. Okay, something that's very important. Actually, I'll put this on first. I have a quick story for you guys. So we welded up our first intercooler in-house, and when we had it on our first truck, we already had a catch can on it and everything like that. And when I took that one off, that intercooler off to put on a sample from one of our manufacturers, there was no oil at all on the intercooler. And then when we put our supercharger kit on the white truck, we were swapping out the blower for this for one like this that had the cool black powder coating on it. And when we took the supercharger off, we noticed that the intercooler was just covered in oil. It was brown, and we were not running a catch can yet. So if you're going to be running a supercharger, I highly recommend that you run a catch can. It's going to keep oil out of your intake system, and especially when you're running a high octane fuel and you need to be resisting knock, oil will lower the AKI index, or the anti-knock index of your fuel, because it will create detonation. So moral of the story is, if you are planning on supercharging your truck, I highly recommend putting a catch can on it. Last thing, I almost forgot, Joey reminded me. We're gonna take this little section of straight hose. We're gonna go onto the barb on the side of the carbon. And we're just gonna wrap it around to there. And that's it. That's our diverter valve actuation. Cool, so carbon's installed. Next thing, let's get these coolant hoses out of the way so we can put our belt into place. Because as you see, that's gonna cause some problems. But let's get our belt into place, and then, yeah, we're gonna make a mess.
Grab your brooms.
All right. Yeah. All right, so these hoses, we took the bracket off earlier, but we're gonna remove these two hoses. We're gonna replace them with extended ones that come forward, and then we're gonna attach them to the top of the radiator shroud so that they don't go anywhere. So this one has already been disconnected. All right, took the clamp off of it at least. Pop. We're gonna steal the band clamp off of it, or whatever, the hose clamp.
Spring clamp?
Spring clamp. This thing. Put it on the new one. Oh, and I guess I should show you how these go. So there's a straight end and a angled end that has like a jog at the end of it. The straight end is gonna go on the left side, or on the passenger side. Makes it a little easier.
Might need to do it the other way. Rotate it.
Grab some needle nose to make that a little better. There you go. Cool. Oh wait, not yet. Okay, so, and then we can come down to the bottom. This hose. And it is gonna spill a little bit, so just keep that in mind. I'm gonna put the hose clamp down below so that I can just take the hose. Actually, I'm gonna undo this guy real quick just to get it out of the way. Just like that. And then this hose, I'm just gonna pull. Oh man. Ooh, there we go. All right, I'm gonna push the new one on, and now the hose clamp's below it, so we can get that into place. Wow, okay, that didn't make as much of a mess as I thought it would.
What do you mean? You just shot coolant everywhere.
Squirted it all in the place.
I want to hear it. Actually, now that I know it's not gonna leak, I'm just gonna take this off and take this off. And just like that. Okay, there's one. And then the other one will make a mess. So this one will for sure. This one we're gonna start on this side. I'm gonna grab different ones. It's a bigger spring clamp. Almost dropped those, saved it. Oh, last thing. If you have one of these are really useful. You can just like take a needle nose vice grip and like pinch off the hose or hose crimps, and it will prevent it from leaking more than it needs to. Man, that's snug on there.
Oh, here it comes.
Yeah, it's moving.
I thought it was.
Cool. Oh, wait. Okay, and then this one, there's like a little left-hand turn on one side and a downward turn on the other. The left-hand turn is going to go on passenger side.
Should be, John.
These ones are snug. Oh, it's because my wrenches. There we go. I'll make it better. There we go. Cool. That's in place. And then this one, this is where it's going to get messy, because that's the main coolant line. I can take my, I can kind of save this a little bit by putting this up here. Actually, I'm gonna flip that around. hold them right there. Get them to where they're nice and relaxed. Right there, cool. And I'll get some flush cuts and we'll cut those. Okay, so next step, we have this center support bracket that attaches to the radiator support. We're gonna take out this bolt, these two nuts, and these two nuts. And then this whole section is gonna come out and we're gonna replace it. And that just comes out like that. And we'll take these sensors off of here. Cool. Okay, so now we're gonna disconnect this heat exchanger. We're just gonna loosen the upper mount and this bracket behind it. I say loosen, I mean remove. So we're gonna remove that, and then we're gonna take out the bracket behind it. Let me get a shorter 10. Dang it. Okay.
It's gone. All gone.
He's gone.
Oh,
No.
brother,
Oh,
what are we
no.
doing?
Oh, you. Oh, God.
There's part of it. Poor little thing.
Hey, Zeus.
I need this garbage can. It's a burb. Ugh, it stinks. Clip onto my thing. There we go. Cool. Okay. All right. I had to. These are some sample brackets that we're gonna reuse, and forgot I changed the dimension. But we're gonna install these two bolts. We're gonna take our intercooler. Or sorry, we're gonna take our heat exchanger. We're gonna set it down on the table like this. And we're gonna install these two brackets. So one of them has a jog on one of the arms. That one's gonna go on the left side, as we're looking at it like this. And then the other one that's flat is gonna go on the right side. So we're gonna get these installed.
Everything.
Cool, those are there. I'm just gonna double check the width on this. Okay, so we've got our brackets installed. We're just gonna slide this back behind. Connectors in front, you can let go. And it's gonna sit right there. So we're gonna install one of these on either side. Yep, you're good. Back that real quick, get that started. These are a little longer than they need to be because on some trucks they have the shroud that goes in, or the active shutters that goes in front, so it needs to clear those. And then, okay, that's there. And then, okay, there's one thing. So you may notice right here, there is no hole. There's no threaded hole, but on the rest of the spots there are. On the late 23, I think around late 23, where the battery changes position, there is a threaded hole on those frames, but not on these. You can get to it from the back, so all we're gonna do is we're gonna drill a hole and we're gonna tap it. Or sorry, we're gonna drill a hole and we're gonna put a nut on the back. And we'll use a lock nut so we don't have to worry about it, but that's all we're gonna do here. Nice, and yeah, and you can see in there, it's easy to get to. You don't really have any risk of hitting your radiator, but if you wanna use a drill stop to feel safe about that, you can. But yeah, okay, so we're good. Easy. If you want to use a rib nut for this, you can do that too. That's just fine. It's a little tricky to get to. And we've got a serrated flange nut on the back, so we can just tighten it up. Cool. Heat exchangers installed. We can go ahead and get the pump attached to the front of the core support, and we should be wrapping that up. Okay, so we have our new core support center bracket. I've already installed on here one of the first of these two clamping brackets. So the coolant pump has these two brackets that attach to it, and they're gonna just clamp around the pump like that. It has this rubber sleeve, and we're gonna make sure it's clocked in the correct direction, and then we're gonna get these installed. But you're gonna wanna install it just like that. And then the coolant pump, we're gonna have this outlet be parallel with the front. So if you've set it up correctly, this should sit within that little notch back there. So, but it's just gonna be, you're gonna want that outlet to be parallel with the front of the face of this bracket. And then we're gonna take the other bracket and go right on the front like that. And then there's gonna be 2 little bolts. One goes through the front, and they're symmetrical brackets, so the other one will go through the back right here. So we'll go ahead and tighten those down. Cool, and just like that. If you have the active shutter system, you're gonna go ahead and install this bracket on top right here, and that will sit right below the pump, and it will hold, there's a peg that goes into this hole that holds the bottom of the active shutter system in place. So that will retain it, but since this truck doesn't have it, we're gonna leave it off. But we're good to go ahead and install it just like this. Okay, so we're gonna get this guy installed. When you're installing these, be careful as these studs are not the strongest. If you install it with like an electric ratchet, you can shear them pretty easily. I mean, if you do it gently, you're okay.
On there.
Just like that. And then we should be able to reconnect this guy and clip it into place on the side of that. And then this guy, we're gonna move off to the side. We're gonna zip tie that into place. Last piece of the puzzle, we're gonna take one of these bolts here and we're gonna thread into the bottom of the heat exchanger. Now we can go ahead and get our hoses installed, our coolant pump reservoir, and our belt, and then we should be ready to flash it and get started. We're gonna start with the 85. All right, so I'm just gonna zip tie this guy into place. I think that this is probably a good spot for it. This is just our ambient temp sensor. Just like that. Okay, first hose we're gonna install is from the pump to the heat exchanger. Make sure it's rotated properly. There we go. And now we'll get another clamp. There we go. Cool. Okay, so we have these 2 long hoses. They have 2 distinct ends on them. So one of them has this little short 90 degree. The other one has a longer one. The longer one is gonna go onto this side right here. It's gonna attach here. And the shorter one, the shorter, smaller 90, is gonna go right here. And it's just gonna sit right on top. Okay, so we're just gonna, wow, that was dynamic. Okay, I'm gonna grab some, actually, I think I'm just gonna grab the air saw just to be safe. Just like that. It makes it easier if you want to take the whole thing out, but I didn't really feel like taking the whole thing out. But now we can route our hoses through there. It's gonna be a nice little passageway for us. We're good to go. All right, so I'm gonna fish this hose through here. If you just follow the end, and take that, pull it all the way through there. And that guy's gonna go into the intercooler. So we're gonna go underneath that, ignore our pressure sensor. But we're gonna go into there. Normally you won't have this in the way as much, but we're adding this pressure sensor in line so we can keep an eye on things while we're still doing testing. This hose is gonna go, yes. So now this hose is gonna go across the front. I'm gonna take this clamp. Just like that. Now we can, I like to set it just like on top of everything. And then he's got little dead bugs in there.
All types of animals.
Yeah.
Bugs, birds.
All sorts of flying things. We're gonna take this guy, slide it. Whoops. It's actually good right there. I'm just gonna push it on a little more. Okay, there you go. Nice and seated. I'm gonna try and get this fuel line back installed. Like I said, you won't have to deal with the fuel line being this in the way. This is just because of our sensor. Okay, so we just feed this one, the remaining hose through there. We have our short 90 here. We're gonna just put the clamp on. This is the tricky one. My glove is disintegrating. All right.
Falling apart.
Really is. All right, cool. That one's there. And now we have all three of our coolant hoses along the front. You can take this one, just set it there, and now they're nice and tucked away. I got you. All right, so heat exchangers installed. Last two things are to get the belt on and the coolant reservoir. First thing we're gonna do with the coolant reservoir is we're gonna get this bracket installed. And to do that, we're gonna do the same thing we did on the evap bracket. We're gonna install these most of the way, and then we're gonna just slide this bracket into place. And then we can go ahead and seat it and get those snugged up. Okay, so next step, we're gonna have a harness that's gonna look something along these lines. We're gonna connect there's a male and a female connector. So we have our factory harness. We're gonna plug into this one with this guy, with the male. And we're gonna plug it into there. And then we have the female one, which is gonna go onto the MAV sensor. Now the other end of this is gonna go into the T-MAP sensor that we installed back here. This is not the exact harness. We're doing some other testing stuff. But yours will look just like this. It'll attach back there onto there. And then once that's installed, you'll be able to have the correct intake air temperatures. So what that's doing is it's taking the intake air temperature from after the intercooler, and it's tricking the system into thinking it's measuring it at the MAV sensor so that we can get an accurate intake air temperature reading. So yeah, make sure we get that installed. You're gonna wanna route it out and around. So back here to be out of the way of the coolant reservoir, which is gonna sit right here. All right, next step, let's get this coolant bracket installed. This is for the coolant reservoir. We already installed the bolts here, just like we did on the evap bracket. So we're gonna just go ahead and install this bracket, just like that, and we'll tighten up all those bolts, and we can keep going. Okay, let's torque these down. There we go. Now that's out of the way. Push that down a little bit. So I'm gonna installing this little short hose that's gonna go between the coolant reservoir and the intercooler. So I put it on so that there's a little bit of a jog in it. I put it on so the jog is going down. So we're gonna install this onto the barb, I guess, that is on, or we're gonna install this onto the 3/4 inch barb that's coming off the intercooler. And I just wanna make sure that this hose clamp's in place and this one's prepared so that I can get to them, because they're kind of tricky to get at. Before we install that, real quick, we're gonna install our PCV hose from our intake kit. Which looks just like this. So we're gonna install the small end, the large end and the small end. We're gonna install the small end on the PCV outlet using the factory clamps. So let's go do that. Okay. PCV is installed. Cool. Now we can go ahead and install the reservoir. All right, so now we've got the PCV installed. We're gonna just slide it between this little gap on the reservoir. And we're just gonna slide it into place. PCV on this side. And now we should just be able to push it onto the barb, like so. And now you'll notice there's a foot on this that is gonna line up. I don't know if you can see, go maybe this way. Right there. Here, let me move the barb, or the hose. So this little foot needs to line up. So once we get that guy lined up, we can put that bolt back in that we took out of it, and then we can put 2 bolts up here. There we go. Nice. Don't tighten it down all the way yet, because we're gonna wanna get these 2 bolts started as well. All gotta fit in there at the same time. So I've got these 2 bolts, they're gonna go up here. Cool. All right, I'm gonna take this gear wrench, I'm gonna get down in there, tighten up that bottom bolt. This is the final piece of the puzzle on the intercooling system. Cool. So this is going to be controlling our coolant pump. We're going to be measuring the temperature of the intercooling system. It's completely separate from the engine cooling system, so it's important that we have a proper control over it. But we're just going to install it in the side here. We've got some thread sealant on there, so you're going to also want to get some thread sealant on there so that you can keep those seals threaded, or thread sealed. Let's snug this up. Perfect. Cool. That should be sealed. And now we can get our coolant temperature from our heat exchanger. We're gonna wire all that through here. So I'm gonna run them through this little notch in that, in this little air dam. So we're gonna wire everything back here, so it's out of the way. He's got his Raptor light harness right there in the moment. So yeah, we're gonna wire everything through there, and then we'll mount it up to the battery in here, and that should be it. All right, so we're gonna smack me in the face with the light. So now we have our idler pulley set up so that it's nice and slacked. So we're gonna take our belt and we're gonna set it up like normal. So we're gonna go around the crank pulley. up and over the tensioner. Sure.
More better.
Up and over the tensioner, around the alternator, over the power steering pulley. That's the passenger side. Oops. Oopsies. Okay, hold that there. And then we're gonna go around this idler pulley, underneath the power steering pump. Just like, again, just like normal. Just like the regular belt adding. Okay. And now we're gonna pull it tight. Okay, and we're gonna go underneath those two pulleys. Okay, and so you can see when I change this, so if I hold right here and I change where this pulley is, like I can change my slack amount by a good deal. So we're gonna set it up so it's just sitting on top. Let's see if I can loosen this up a little more. Yeah, so I'm gonna set this up so that with the tensioner locked out and everything's sitting in place, I'm gonna double check that because that makes a difference. Ah, see, that was not in place. I want this to just barely be sitting on top of it, just like that, right? And then I'm going to tighten this bolt. Okay. I'm gonna double check this one just in case. Yep. Now we're gonna take our set screw and we're gonna just tighten it down until it touches the back, or it touches the top of the jam, or of the sliding adjuster nut. Okay, that's tight right there. And now I'm gonna grab my 5mm, got my 5, and we're just gonna gently snug. Okay. All right, so we're gonna grab a 15, or whatever size this ends up being. We're gonna grab a wrench and we're gonna tighten this guy down, this jam nut, because the job of this is not to like keep tension on it, it's just to keep it from moving up at all. And so with the belt tension coming up, this is, as long as this jam nut's in place, we're gonna be okay. Nice, okay. And then final step, we can just pop the belt into place, take our big 17, and we can pull our stop out of the tensioner, and voila, belt installed. And now you should have enough slack in the belt so that when you lock out your tensioner, you can still get your belt off. So if you're on the side of the road, like belt breaks from old age or something like that, you can change your belt without having to move this pulley. So that can stay there for the rest of its life, unless you change pulley sizes, right? So the cool thing about this adjustable idler system is if you decide to step down from the 75 to the 65mm pulley, you can use the same belt. So we have 2 belts for our 3 different pulley sizes. So the shorter belt will fit both the 75 and the 65. So yeah, belt is done. Just gonna double check, make sure it's all in the right place. Yeah. Okay, looks good. Belt is done. All we have left is put the intake in and burp the cooling system. Cool, so now we have our direction of airflow indicated with this arrow on the MAV sensor. You can also tell because there's a little pocket and temp sensor on the front. We're gonna install it just like that, and we'll put some hardware in, and then we can install this. Max is criticizing my use of factory hardware.
It's efficient. We shouldn't get factory hardware.
You don't tell me, I don't tell you to do your job.
Well.
See, it's already in.
Okay, so we have our intake tube. We're just gonna install like any other version of our cold air intake would. So if you need to check that out, you can check out the video right here. Gotcha, Dave. So I'm gonna install that. But basically, oh, hose clamps. Those are important. I forgot one. Okay, hose clamps. Boom, and we'll tighten those down. Last up is to get the coolant pump controller installed, and that's it. Aside, I guess aside from the tune. But we'll connect our MAV sensor. Pull my extended little harness out of here, out of its hiding spot. Yep, so connect that. Oops. And connect our PCV hose, and tighten those down. Cool. All right, last thing is the coolant pump harness. Okay, so we're gonna connect our controller to our coolant pump. We're gonna start with this guy. So this D-shaped connector, that's gonna go into the coolant pump itself down here. And then we have the, this connector is gonna go into our temp sensor. So I think this will end up being back here. Okay, that's connected. Tuck that away. Remove the coolant pump controller. And then you can tuck that back a little bit. But
on that side, right?
Yep, it's just on this side. And then all we're gonna do, click right into place. And that's it. I routed up through here. This is how I found has typically been best. But we'll go up through here. Okay, I always like to have a little extra slack, more than we need. All right, so I'm gonna move that out of the way. Now the coolant pump controller. Okay, so depending on how your battery is configured, the earlier models have the smaller battery here, the later models have a larger battery that sits right here. So it'll sit about right here, and your coolant pump reservoir will be elsewhere. So on the later models, you can just mount to the outside battery post. And so you'll just connect it like so. But on this one, we're gonna remove the headlight a little bit. We're just gonna pop this out of place. Get this guy set up right here. It's gonna be kind of tricky to get at, but you can just pull forward, I believe. I don't know if it shouldn't pop out yet, but so we're just gonna lift up and pull back on the headlight a little bit. And we should be able to get that. Should be able to get that started. Question mark. Okay, and that should fit. There we go. Cool. Nice. Coolant pump controller is installed. Now we can just put our bolts back in the headlight. Now that Brendan's done making a racket.
He's not.
Dang it, Brendan. All right. You nibble quite loudly,
Try to
sir.
what?
Trying to nibble that thing away.
He's a nibbler.
He's a nibbler.
Last step.
Completely in the way. Okay. We go over here.
We've got a few extra things going on in here.
Oh no.
Yeah. But wait. All right, so we've got our ground found where we're gonna go, and we're gonna run this. So I'm gonna take this ground. We're gonna put the ground in first, and we're just gonna fish it through and stack it on top of the existing ground.
You said ground found.
We have our ground found.
Found ground.
The ground has been found.
The ground has been found. It's grounded.
It's a founded ground.
It's a founded grounded. Grounded found.
Cool. And then we'll attach this to this positive terminal here. And we're good. Now we can tuck those wires down and out of the way. The last step is to connect to an auxiliary power supply. Typically we do like the ABS fuse, something that's on when key is on and ignition. Key is on only, or when engine's on. We don't want this to go directly to battery. So otherwise the pump would be on at all times. We don't want that. All right, let's just go ahead and double check everything. Make sure we've got it all installed. We've got our coolant pump harness connected. We've got our radiator is set up. So our heat exchanger is set up. All our coolant lines are connected. Each one of the coolant lines has its appropriate hose clamp, spring clamp. Supercharger is on, everything is torqued. All hoses are connected to the carbon. The bolts are all snugged. Intercooler stack is torqued. Throttle body is installed and connected. Belt is clear. Belt is clear of the wiring harness. Grounds are all reinstalled for that. Intake is installed, MAF is connected and connected back to the intake air temperature from the lower intake manifold. Coolant pump connector is installed, temp sensor is installed, belt is installed and lower sensors installed and lower intake coolant is installed and from the intake manifold. Okay, so we have here a bottle of water wetter. If you're not familiar with this, this is going to help you. Basically, it's going to help reduce your intake temperatures because the air to water cooling system for the intercooler is more efficient when you use this. So it's going to pull the heat away more effectively than water will do. Okay, so we have here a bottle of water wetter. If you're not familiar with this, if you live in a climate where it gets below freezing, you're going to want to use coolant for this. You can just basically it's going to dilution cooling system for the intercooler. System. Okay, so we got here some distilled water. It's important that you do not use tap water in this. Tap water contains minerals and those will eventually oxidize things here. So if you're not using pre-diluted 50/50 coolant, you're going to want to use distilled water and water wetter, or you can just use distilled water, whatever you want. But again, if you are going to be somewhere where it will get below freezing, you're going to tap water for sure. Minerals and those will eventually oxidize things. Make sure that you don't want those in here. So make sure that you're not using pre-diluted 50/50 coolant. You're going to want to use distilled water. So let's go ahead and add this. I am certainly going to make up. In this, tap water contains minerals and those will eventually oxidize things. We don't want those in here. So if you're not using pre-diluted 50/50 coolant, you're going to want to use distilled water. In this, tap water contains minerals and those will eventually oxidize things. We don't want those in here. So if you're not using pre-diluted 50/50 coolant, you're going to want to use distilled water. In this, tap water contains minerals and those will eventually oxidize things. We don't want those in here. So if you're not using pre-diluted, I'm actually amazed that I didn't just dump that use distilled water. All right, let's take a look in here. A little bit. All right, guys. So that's how easy it is to install minerals and those supercharger on your D41 Frontier. I think it's pretty good install. I'm actually amazed that I didn't just dump. Comment, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.